Hey guys, Sean C. Phobe here with a brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday Sean here today. Today gonna go out, see what things came out today. There's one thing I'm gonna try and find at Best Buy. It looks like they have it in the store, but like there's only it says less than 3 in stock, so hopefully they end up having that in when I get there. It's a little earlier, so they probably should. And then also at the end of this video, I'm gonna have a couple new DVD and Blu-ray reviews, and then my main update, DVD Blu-ray update, up this Saturday as well, so definitely stay tuned for that. But anyway though guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. And some of the things that came out today was, Central Intelligence, starring, The Rock and Kevin Hart. I'm going to have a review of this one at the end of the video, but I actually really like this one a lot. And one of the other ones today was, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, and I'll be reviewing this one this weekend. But actually pretty fun movie, with, Zac Efron, Anna Kendrick, Aubrey Plaza, but I actually really like this one a lot more than Dirty Grandpa. It kind of got compared with, because it came out with a lot of the same cast, and they have in here this only at Target edition of Warcraft. It has in here 8 collectible cards, but never ever played the game of this one at all, so don't know if it was too true to the game, but actually really wasn't a bad movie. I actually kind of like this one. It was not, by any means outstanding or anything, but was actually not bad. But like I said, they have this only at Target one here, which is pretty much the same price, I think, as the regular edition in here. And the other one today was, the Neon Demon, which was really cool. It looks like they only have the DVD of that one, as well as the Shallows, which I talked about in the last update. And real cool cover that goes between the ventricular, between her and the water and the blood from the shark. But this one was actually pretty good. And one of the other ones today as well was this movie with Hannah Hart, Dirty 30, which don't know too much about this one, but I believe 2 of them are from YouTube. But let me know if you guys have seen this one, if this one's any good or not. But like I said, don't know a whole ton about this one. Into the pawn shop we go. Well, I'm in here. It's been really picked over here lately. They used to have boxes all over the floor and stuff. Now they really only have this part right here, and then a couple things on the ground in here, but not like they've had in a while. So they've been a while since they seem like they've, restocked anything in here. Been a lot of the same things for a really long time, but I like to check here, usually once a month or so. This is one I hope at some point gets a Blu-ray release. Always really like this movie a lot. I feel like this is one of those movies, that Danny Boyle directed, which you just don't hear about as much. Same with, with being a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Just not a real talked about one, but always really like this movie a lot. But it doesn't seem there's really much in here today. Always cool to see things, in the old Blockbuster cases, but nothing really in here. Just kind of the same stuff. They haven't really updated it in a long time now. And it's, like I said, it seems like a lot less. Well, I thought I was going to find nothing in there today, and I actually found some really good deals. I found these were only $5 each. This one sells for $25. This is the Wild Thornberrys, the complete series. This actually sells $25, used. So it was actually a very good price. The entire series. I actually have none of these ones. And I think I only have one volume of this. This sells for $21 used, and it's Hey Arnold, the complete series. And with these as well, if you get them on Amazon, they're still $3 shipping and the taxes and all that stuff. So these are actually very good prices for these. And like I said, I think I only have one volume of this or something like that, one of the seasons of this. And this has, I think it's 18 discs in here or something like that. 16 discs in this, so that's very cool to find them. And they were just kind of on the bottom. I didn't see them last time, and they didn't have any of the other complete series, but it was cool to get these ones, like I said, for both of these for only $10 when one of them sells for $25, the Wild Thornberrys one. So that was pretty cool, and ones you don't normally see all the time either. Into the Goodwill we go. Well, we're seeing anything different in here today. I don't think I've ever actually been to this specific Goodwill location ever. I kind of just discovered it over here today. But usually a lot of the same stuff. And the one thing with Goodwill is they always check the prices. So very rarely do you find stuff, that's out of print and stuff, because they kind of price everything. This one you don't see too much. This I Love Lucy 50th anniversary special one. And it's also funny when you find UK releases and stuff in here, because this is a Region 2 release in here of Heroes. That's a weird company too, Playback. I don't know that company, but it's always funny when you come across those kind of Region 2 releases. And they have another Region 2 one in here as well for Damages. That's kind of funny to see, but seems to me like a lot of the same stuff I've seen pretty much. Nothing really too different in here today. Into the quality resale store we go.
Well, we're taking a look in here and see if there's anything different here today. Seems like they got a ton of records in here now. They didn't have all these last time, but movie-wise, we'll see if they change anything out. It seems like every so often they change things out here, but then for a while, it can be a lot of the same titles for a long time. You know, but we'll see. Remember that weird company, Digiview Entertainment. I think these were like those dollar store kind of ones. I'm pretty sure like they were in like those super thin cases. I haven't seen one of those kind of releases in a long time. But we'll see if there's anything different here today. Into the pawn shop we go, and nothing different in that other place, just all the same stuff. Well, they got a couple things in here, so we're going to look through here and see if they have anything different. Last time I was in here, they had little monsters, but I had a huge line, so I ended up getting it, but we'll look through here. Yeah, look through there for a while, and nothing different. Last time I was in there, they had, you know, little monsters, which is a pretty rare one, but like the line was out the door, and I already had a copy of it, but like it was one of those ones, I think it was like $2, and I would have got it if there wasn't a line, but didn't seem to be anything else out of print in there. A couple of sort of different things, but nothing really rare or anything like that. Into the DAV Veterans Thrift Store we go. Well, we're taking a look and see if there's anything different here today. I've probably been seeing this a lot today, Big Love. I've seen this in a couple different places. I always hate this too. A lot of people really hate when they, you know, draw on the cover with the, you know, write on it with this pen kind of thing, this marker type thing. It's really hard to get off. Never know why they do that. Do that a lot of time at the Goodwill, but we'll see what's in here. Oh, this really weird thing in here. I think it's for like editing like 16mm film or something like that. Like a really old editor, and there's like some kind of film stuff still in here. Who knows what this is, but this is kind of a really weird thing to see. Same with this thing in here. This like, I guess this is from like a diner or something. One of those things where you could like a jukebox like that was on your table. That's kind of weird to see. Into FYE we go. Well, a rare sign in here, no music on. Every time there's music on here, it's like, phew, there's no music, because very rarely do I ever come in here when there's not music blaring. Everywhere I've gone today has been copyrighted music blaring everywhere, so I can never get, you know, too much video in places. That's always a pain. But luckily enough, right now, no music in here, so we'll take a look and see if there's anything in here different and stuff. And what I always do, like I've always said in the videos, I just look on the top for the, you know, used ones, because that's the best way to come in here to look for out of print stuff, because, you know, new titles, you're never going to find rare stuff if it's not a used copy in here. That's what I pretty much always do, is just look on the tops for the, you know, used stickers. And last time I was in here, they had that big wall right in this spot, but now they finally have these movies back in here. So I guess like that wall they had here that like blocked over this. I'm not sure what they were doing, but now all this stuff is back again though. Into Walmart we go. And in Walmart, they have their own edition here. Their Steelbook, collectible Steelbook. It's like a double-sided Steelbook for Warcraft in here. So that's pretty cool that they have an edition of that one in here as well. And one of the other things, too, that came out today was Cell, which I actually kind of liked. This had a lot of mixed opinions, but I actually thought this was kind of a fun movie. It's not, like, absolutely perfect or anything, but it's kind of like an end-of-the-world thing with, like, the phones turning people into zombies and crazy killers. Like, but I actually kind of did like this one, but that was one of the other ones that came out today as well. And in Walmart, they have Neon Demon in here, and their version that comes with a digital copy, so that's kind of cool. Some of the places like Walmart usually have like exclusives to have a digital copy included in here as well, you know, with Voodoo. Into Best Buy we go. And in Best Buy, their version of, Warcraft has, only at Best Buy 30 minutes of exclusive bonus content on this one. And their 4K release one is kind of cool. Looking to the cover, it has like a slip cover on this one. So that's kind of cool for this one. Cause like a little, like a certain type of shine to this. So that's pretty cool here for that version. And then there's this other one here, the 3D Blu-ray one of this as well in here. And the thing that I came in here to try and find, I'm not seeing in here, was American Werewolf in London. It said online they have it, for $9.99. It's like cheaper than it is in, anywhere else. On Amazon, I think it's like $14.99. So it's mostly everywhere else. It seems to be $14.99, but I don't see it in here. I'm gonna have to look in the section and see where it is, or if they didn't put it out yet. But as far as I could tell, it says, it's in store. This is one of the other things that came out today too. They had this a couple other places, this Howard Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom, and it has for the Best Buy, exclusive comic book in here for this one. So their exclusive one with the Blu-ray here. But other than that, if I can't find that, that was like the main thing I wanted to try and get. I think this came out today as well, this show, The Good Wife, which I've never actually seen this one, the final season of that. And they have a new edition here of the Munsters. So I'm pretty sure this came out today, the complete series, in this like new set for this. Well, I had to look here for a while and I ended up finding it here. There only seems to be 2 of them in here. It was in this random spot. So if any of you guys are trying to find it in here, it's one of these random things like this in the middle of the store. But this is the new one. It has like newly restored one and a pretty cool new slipcover on this one. And as far as I know, it's a brand new transfer. I think it's all the same features and everything on it. But this is one I definitely was going to get because I actually don't have this one. For some reason, I never bought this. And for $9.99, that's actually a pretty decent price for this new edition of this. Like I said, and a cool new slipcover on that. So at least I ended up finding it though, because like I said, it was in a real random spot in here.
Yeah, well, I ended up getting that in there. And I had like $20 in reward certificates, but since it's only $10, I couldn't use it. So I'll probably end up using that next week for American Horror Story, because I think that's going to be like 30, something like that. And that I definitely do want to pick that up. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for the, this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video. Like I always say, if you guys enjoy these videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Now, stay tuned now for a couple new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. And the first one I got from Warner Brothers is Central Intelligence. This, stars Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson. This is it has the unrated cut on here. The unrated cut is, I think it's about 10 minutes longer than the theatrical, and has on here a commentary track, Lino-Ram on here, couch time lapse, gag reel on here, and alternate scenes. But, basically, though, the movie is about, Kevin Hart and, Dwayne Johnson, who were kind of friends when they were in high school. And Dwayne Johnson's character, The Rock's character, was very heavy in high school. And he had this really embarrassing thing happen to him at the, one event at school. And everyone ended up seeing him naked. It was this huge to-do. And, basically, Kevin Hart was one of the kind of pretty much his only friends in school. And Kevin Hart now, it's been years later, working this really high-paying job, and all of a sudden, The Rock's character comes to where he's working and starts to kind of seeing him all the time, and taking him out to dinner, and kind of bothering him all the time, and he's kind of trying to reconnect with him, and you can tell he doesn't really seem too happy about his life, and he's just trying to really become friends with him again, and he talking about how he was his only friend and everything. And then all of a sudden, basically, all these people start kind of coming after The Rock's character, and Kevin Hart kind of becomes roped into this whole situation about all these people coming after him, because The Rock's character says that he was in the CIA, but then all these people are after him and said that he ended up killing somebody, and he was involved with all these bad things. And Kevin Hart basically becomes roped into all this, and kind of stuck with him, and kind of going around with him, trying to, kind of, The Rock's trying to clear his name, but then Kevin Hart has to try and clear his name along as well, because he's kind of stuck along with all this stuff that's going along the way. But really thought this was actually a very, very fun movie. Really like both of them together. They have very good chemistry on screen. They're actually going to be together too in the Jumanji remake, so that would be interesting to see that one as well. But really did like this one. And the next one from the Warner Archive is one that I've never saw that Clint Eastwood directed, called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. It stars Kevin Spacey and John Cusack. It was actually a pretty interesting movie. It was basically about John Cusack's character, who's this writer who wrote this one book that was very unsuccessful, but Kevin Spacey's character read the book, was kind of a fan of it, and Kevin Spacey's character is this guy who always has all this money, and always would throw these elaborate parties, and Town and Country magazine really wanted to do an article on him, kind of writing about these parties and the kind of people who go and what they're like, and he's like, well, I'll do it if you end up hiring this guy, John Cusack's character, because he really was a fan of him, to kind of come and write the article. So he kind of invites him to stay with him, stay in his house, see the party. But they're also being kind of odd, because they end up wanting him to sign this non-disclosure, saying that they're kind of going to have first, basically be able to read what he writes and make sure that he doesn't say anything bad about it. But then he doesn't want to do it, and Kevin Spacey's character says, yeah, that's okay. I don't blame you for not signing that, because Kevin Spacey's kind of lawyer tries to get him to sign that. He doesn't want to do it, though, but he ends up basically going there to write this party. But, things are kind of going fine. The party goes, and then ends up basically one of the people who goes to the party ends up dead, and it becomes this huge investigation, and John Cusack's character is getting ready to go back, but Kevin Spacey's character is getting looked at for murder, and, he's saying, well, he was trying to defend himself, and it becomes this huge court thing. So Kevin Spacey's kind of there, and I mean, John Cusack's character is pretty much there, basically saying that he's going to write this book about it, and it was kind of an interesting thing. It dealt into with a whole lot of different subplots and a whole. It's one of those kind of things where you're kind of finding out different things here and there, trying to put together the whole pieces about if Kevin Spacey's character really, had the right to kill this guy because it was, self-defense, or if he really was there was more going on here. I actually thought this was actually a pretty good one. Like I said, never heard this one before. It was actually pretty interesting Clint Eastwood one. The next one from Twilight Time. This is another one that I saw this one like when I was a little kid, like years and years and years ago. I had not watched this one in so long. It's a Dabney Cohen movie, with Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Dolly Parton. And this is the Twilight Time limited edition to I think this one is limited to 3,000 3,000 copies, and this is 9 to 5. And this is actually a pretty cool movie. It's basically Dabney Cohen playing this boss. They make a lot of movies like this, in a lot of movies when there's like kind of bad bosses, the bosses that are kind of sexist and kind of, bad to the employees and stuff like that. And he's real kind of like giving the bosses, all the people that work for him, all kind of orders and telling them to do all these things that really aren't in their job descriptions. Like, can you go out and pick this up for my wife? When he's actually, pick up a scarf for my wife, and he's actually trying to buy that for Dolly Parton's character, who's a secretary, to kind of hit on her. And he's kind of like real sleazy and really kind of bad to the employees. And all three of the girls kind of have gotten really tired of it, and they kind of are trying to come up with a plan for what they're going to do to try and get back at him for what he's done and the way he is, and kind of try and change him. It's kind of them trying to put together this plan. It's a very fun movie. It has on here, though, a commentary track, with the cast and crews. 9 at 25 revisiting a comedy classic, deleted scenes, Dolly Parton and Lily Tomlin interviews, animation reel. So tons of different features on this one. The next one, this one is from E1 and through Uncorked, and it's a movie called The Evil Gene. And it was a movie all set in this prison, and the one guy in this, I always remember him. He's been in tons of stuff, but I always remember him because he was in Ernest Goes to Camp, and he was like one of the bad kids in that, like one of the bullies that was always bothering the kids that came there from the juvenile detention school to kind of go there and try and work with Ernest, and kind of should have shipped them into shape a little bit, but he was one of the bad bullies that was always bothering them. And I always remember him. He's been acting for years and always kind of looks the same, so it was always kind of cool to see him in this movie. But it was basically this prison. It's like in the future where they put all the really bad people that kind of have this bad gene, like they say the evil gene, together in this prison. And in the prison, one of the guards, kind of the cops, like the guys that like one of the cops there, ends up getting killed, and it's kind of trying to look at it as if it was either murder or if he killed himself. And they send this one cop there to kind of investigate the whole thing. So he's kind of there trying to investigate exactly what had happened in this prison, because the prison, it's kind of looking as if it was something else, because he gets there and he starts to see things, and he starts to having kind of like, is he cracking up when he gets there? What is going on? He kind of starts to see things in this prison, and it's kind of a creepy prison thing where he's trying to figure out exactly what is going on in this prison, and if it's like something supernatural going on there, and if it's that what could have been what killed him, or if it was the guy killed himself, or it was one of the inmates that did it. If it was like a big plan thing. But on here, though, like I said, this is actually a pretty cool one, though, like I said, called The Evil Gene. The next one are some Vinegar Syndrome releases. Some really cool ones. This one, I love the cover on this one. I think I might have saw this one years ago, and look, they did a really good job cleaning this one up. It has a brand new 2K restoration on this one, and a featurette on the movie, and a commentary track with the director on this. And it's a movie called Horror House on Highway 5. And really, really cool movie. Really strange movie. It's basically, though, about this like guy who's wearing this Richard Nixon mask. In the beginning of the movie, you see him killing these people at this house, and then it also deals with like this school where they're trying to like do like this article, and this guy and the professor's like sending out the students to try and talk to people, and he sends like a couple of them out to go this one way and the other ones to go this other way to talk to this guy. They end up going to talk to him, and it's kind of him and his brother, and they're like these kind of weird, have all these weird pictures of like Nazi things on the wall and all these odd stuff on the wall, and she goes there to kind of interview him, and she's like, oh, I'm trying to talk to you about this airplane thing, and and then it's really like this, the brother, and the one brother is this real like foolish guy, and he's like, oh, don't let her leave, you gotta go after her, you gotta get her and bring her back, she can't go, she might know too much about us. There's all these like bumbling things of him going after her, and he ends up getting the wrong woman, and it's just this really strange movie about that. And then you're kind of, you see this guy in the Richard Nixon mask going around and killing people, and then you're kind of wondering, is he one of those brothers? Who exactly is this guy? Because it kind of cuts back and forth to that, to the Richard Nixon guy going after other people and going after the other people in the class. Just a really, really cool, quirky, weird movie. Like I said, they did a really good job cleaning this one up. And this one is the director's other film that he did, I think like a year or two after this one. He definitely had more budget on this one. It was a little bit more of a step up and more of an ambitious movie. This one has a 2K transfer from the 35mm camera, negative on here, and a little chaos, a making of featurette, and a commentary with the director as well. And this movie is called Hellbent. And cool cover on this one, really cool covers on both of these ones. And this one is basically about this guy who's in a band. It's kind of not going very well, and he's kind of not having a lot of success. It's like one of those kind of movies like this band really needs help and really not doing well. And this one night, this guy comes to him and basically says that he's going to, make him successful. He runs this like club, which is basically, he's sort of supposed to be like the devil, and he runs this like kind of hell type club. And he's like, well, if you come here with me and come to my club, I'll make you famous and I'll make all of your dreams come true, but you have to sell your soul to me. And they're kind of like laughing about it. Oh, well, what's the soul worth and all that kind of. It's one of those kind of things, like Bedazzled and those kind of things, where it's like, if you sell your soul for this, you'll become famous and get everything you want. Of course, though, this guy who's like the devil, you see him with his like cronies going after other people who haven't done what they said, or going after and killing other people and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool movie, a real 80s movie set. I think this was like 80, 88, so it was real during the time where it was like the punk kind of scene going on in the 80s and that real punk rock kind of look. But really, really cool, weird movie too. Both of these ones are very strange films. The next one from Vinegar Syndrome as well. This is from the director, Steven Scott, who directed Trashy Lady. This is more of an adult one. This one has a 2K transfer from the 60mm element as well, and a commentary track with Herschel Savage and one of the other founders of it's XRCO, that company that made this one. It's called China and Silk. And this is a pretty interesting one. So this is an adult film, but it's basically, though, Herschel, who I always think of him from the Family Business show, that Seymour Butch's like life that they had on Showtime. But he was on that. But he's been in like a million adult movies, like things like pretty much everyone you can imagine in the 80s, and still to this day pops up and stuff. But really big in the 70s and 80s, like Debbie Does Dallas and all that stuff. And this is basically, though, about smuggling heroin and things like that in fortune cookies. And then it's like these cops that are kind of going to investigate the whole thing. Of course, they're sleeping with each other and stuff like that, and kind of trying to get to the bottom of it. Gina Lynn is playing one of the cops with Herschel Savage, trying to investigate this whole thing. And it deals with murders and all that kind of stuff. But like a pretty cool, fun one. And like I said, really, they do amazing job cleaning up these movies. Really great, job cleaning this one up. The next one is one I had never seen before, called Count Dracula's Great Love. This is another 2K transfer in this one, and it's basically about these group of these women, this guy going in this carriage to kind of look at this building, and the carriage ends up breaking down. This is like set in, like, I think like the 1820s, something like that, and it's like ends up breaking down. There's like this huge castle where it's kind of like, not really a castle, but more like an asylum type building that was kind of had like kind of like mental patients and stuff like that in it, but it's kind of abandoned now. And this one eccentric guy is like bought the place, and he's kind of like living in there, and their carriage ends up breaking down, so they have to kind of make their way up to this carriage to stay there. Of course, though, the guy who owns it is Count Dracula, and he's going there, and basically the women are kind of disappearing one by one as he's turning them into vampires, and he has basically he's like building all these different vampires while he's there. And it's a very, very fun vampire movie, very, really well done. Like I said, I feel like this is almost like a real lost vampire one. I think Elvira, because when I was looking this one up, there's a picture of Elvira, and I think Elvira might have had this one on one of her shows in the 80s, an episode of this one. I believe, I'm not 100% certain though, but really cool vampire one. Like I said, kind of like a real gothic vampire type feel one. The next one from MVD, and this is the third one of these. The first one was like a standalone, like I think it was like in a haunted house, and they had like a Ouija board, I think. And then their second one, I believe, was an anthology film as well. And this one is called The Invoking 3, The Poltergeist Dimensions. And what's cool about these is, I think it's Jesse Baggett was the producer of this, and he's put together a lot of different anthology films like Monster World and a number of different ones. And this is basically, it's taking like things that deal with like hauntings and horror stories, horror episodes, and horror shorts and things like that, and putting them all together into these cool anthology type films. This is actually a pretty cool one, and he takes some. There's like shorts from all over the world, in the UK, in other languages, and from Spain, Mexico, and all kinds of stuff. So it's all different kind of episodes together, all dealing with like, it's like on this, it basically says dealing with Grim Reapers, evil poltergeists, satanic forces, all kinds of stuff. And it was actually some pretty good segments on this one. I remember liking part 2 of this as well, but a cool anthology one with, like I said, a whole bunch of different shorts together. The next one is one called The Devil's Forest, and this is kind of like a found footage one about filmmakers going to Transylvania, and they heard that like there was kind of like this haunted forest in it was Transylvania. They heard that it was like this haunted forest areas where there's all these kind of occurrences and things like that happen. They were kind of doing this documentary, kind of going out there and filming the whole thing and just kind of exploring it. And of course, though, they end up getting out there, and weird things start to happen to them. They start seeing things out there, and it's one of those kind of things that's kind of definitely has like a real Blair Witch kind of feel to this movie, and it's kind of them kind of trapped out in these woods, and then things are starting to happen to them while they're out there. But actually a pretty decent, found footage one. Like I said, more in the style of a real Blair Witch kind of feel one to it. The next one, this one is from Rapid Heart Pictures, and this one I really like this one. Dave Dakota directed this one. He directed some of the Poltergeist, Puppet Masters films, and then Sorority Babes and Slime Ball-O-Rama, tons of different movies. And this has Eric Roberts in this movie, and it's called, Sorority Slaughterhouse. And this, like I said, this was a very fun movie about basically Eric Roberts was this guy, this professor who was like sleeping with his student, and he really liked this girl, but she ended up dumping him, and he gets really depressed about the whole thing and kills himself and curses this doll, this clown doll, and basically puts his his soul into this clown doll, and then he kills himself, and he wakes up in the doll, and he's like, oh wow, it's great in here, and he's doing this crazy like clown voice in here, and of course he's going because he basically coming to the sorority where all these girls are, and he's the clown going there and killing off the girls and all these crazy ways. So there's these really ridiculous deaths, and it definitely has a real Puppet Masters kind of feel to it, because it's like him waddling around like going after the girls and like killing all of them, and it's just like these ridiculous deaths in this movie. But this has on here the unrated director's cut on this, but this is just a very, very fun movie. Eric Roberts was really funny in this. Like I said, he's like voicing this clown in this, and it's just like the ridiculous kind of stuff that he's saying in this. And the next one from MVD as well is a movie called Subterranea. This stars Bug Hall in this one and William Catt. This is an interesting movie. It's about Bug Hall playing this guy that was like his whole life was inside this small room when he was a kid, and like up until when he was like right in the beginning of this movie, when he got let out, he was just like trapped in this room, and he never saw light, never saw anything, and he only ever heard this guy talking through the wall and never heard his voice. And he ends up one day let out of the place. And it's kind of him going out into the world and never seeing anything before, never actually being out into the world. And he ends up just kind of trying to figure out what in the world is going on. He befriends this homeless guy. The homeless guy was in a ton of Adam Sandler movies and like Paul Blart and stuff. I always remember him from those films. And he basically goes there and tries to figure out what in the world is going on, and he meets this one woman who something had ended up happening, and you trying to figure out exactly what it is, because she's like, well, I don't want to go to the cops. I need him to talk to me. I need him to figure out exactly, tell me what had happened to this person. So it's this really interesting thing about them trying to figure out what is going on, and also Bug Hall's character trying to figure out exactly who was it that put him down into this hole, and what was the reasoning for leaving him in there his whole life, and why they let him out. But very interesting one. It has on here though a making of on this one, deleted scenes, and a trailer on this one. The next one from Intervision. This is a really fun. I think I was reading it was made for $250, and this is a movie called Phobe. Phobe and like the Xenophobic experiments, and you can see it's a real cheesy, fun cover on this one, and it's basically about this like this creature that ends up like loose, that gets loose in America, and this kind of guy with this like mullet kind of coming in, from space to go after him and try and stop him, and he's going around like killing all these people, and it's like a real cheesy costume. It's kind of like this helmet and this really weird look to it, and like these really cheesy desks. Like I said, the movie was made for $250, but that's what kind of makes it fun, because like the effects in it are real cheesy. It's from like 1994, but just a really fun, ridiculous movie. Kind of reminded me like of the early like Polonia Brothers movies, kind of that kind of feel to it, like they're really early ones. But it's just like a kind of like Predator kind of thing feel to it, a little bit of him kind of going after them. And the last one here from this is from Revolver Entertainment, is a movie called Invoked. This is people going to a they end up like going into this like bed and breakfast. It's like this abandoned bread and it was like a bed and breakfast. What it was? It's kind of like a holiday kind of bed and breakfast kind of hotel kind of place that they go to, and they go there and they want to play this kind of like Ouija type game there, and of course though they play this Ouija type game there and it goes very wrong, and you end up because it says invoke, because they end up letting this kind of spirit out, and it's kind of them, they're trapped when they're something is kind of coming after them, and all these kind of weird stuff starts to happen to them. So it kind of like horror kind of situations of them going there and in this cool, really pretty cool setting to this, with all these kind of things going and happening to them while they're there. But anyway though guys, that's all for this the review portion of this video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing. I'll see you guys later.